We are on page 391, Shulchan Aruch. I was just reading something today, just halakha, before we get to Shulchan Aruch. And this is what I was talking about last night, and I want to just continue with that. Rabbi Yosef Masas was asked in the book Mayim Chaim, in the second volume of Mayim Chaim. There was a community, and this community would wake up every dawn to say slichot. When they woke up to say slichot, there's a custom, not all Sfaradim have this custom. You know, there's an old custom to blow shofar every day during the month of Elul.
Yeah.
It's not a unanimous Jewish custom. And in fact, the only time you have to blow shofar is on Rosh Hashanah. Aside from that, blowing the shofar it's a holy custom. We mentioned, Arizal mentions it's a holy custom. Some Sfaradim had the custom to blow at the end of Slichot, like we do here. Some have the custom during each one of the 13 attributes of Hashem's name, they blow shofar. Which, I don't know whose custom this is, but I never liked it. In Yerushalayim, that's what they did. When he would say, Hashem, Hashem, Kehillat, it drives you crazy. You're trying to say Hashem's midot, and what about the guy who's blowing the shofar? He doesn't have to say he's giving midot. Yeah. The whole thing just seemed like a very confused custom to me. That was the feeling that I got from it. Yeah, but okay, and Ashkenazi communities, they blow the shofar every day after Shacharit. So Rav Masas was asked that his question was, we're blowing shofar at dawn, and there's an old lady who lives next to the synagogue, and it wakes her up in the morning. And she's really upset that we wake her up every morning. Do we have to listen to her? I mean, does she have? She can tell us what to do. It's our domain. It's our territory. It's our synagogue. We should listen to her. And Rav Yosef Masas wrote back, putting aside Elul. In Elul, you're waking up somebody every morning in the month of Elul. You're trying to get close to Hashem by disturbing someone else's sleep. He said, but you have to understand here, this is a custom. It's a custom. It's all it is, blowing shofar during Elul. He said, and you're going to use a custom to disturb someone else's life? He said, where is your priority here? You're waking up a person, maybe she's a widow, you're hurting a widow, all kinds of terrible things, all in the name of a custom. And he says you should absolutely not blow the shofar. Even if it means you'll not blow the shofar the whole month of Elul. He says, don't blow the shofar. It's not worth your upholding the custom on account of somebody else's comfort. And when you read a tshuva like this, it shouldn't be such a novel tshuva. It shouldn't have taken Rabbi Yosef Masas to write this letter. But it did. That's what it did. I even saw that Rabbi Yosef writes the same thing in the Halakha also. If you live in a synagogue in Israel, many synagogues are in apartment buildings. You should not blow shofar. Don't blow shofar at an unreasonable hour. It's not correct. It's not a good thing to do. It's not the right way to come into Elul. But you find over and over that people they hold on to customs and prioritize things in life. No one's telling you not to keep Shabbat. No one's telling you not to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah. They're asking you that at 4 o'clock in the morning you don't wake them up with shofar. That's not a crazy thing to ask. Oh, what about the custom? The custom is not more important than the Torah. But customs, I heard all the speeches about customs. My whole life I'm hearing speeches about customs.
So we don't blow it at night.
So we do. We blow, but we don't have anyone to bother here. If we were in a situation where we'd be bothering somebody...
But at nighttime it's okay.
Sure, of course.
Because it's not a mitzvah.
It's not exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Rosh Hashanah at night you don't blow the shofar.
Right.
And this whole attitude on halakha, a reasonable halachic attitude, that is the attitude that you must have when you learn halakha. That must have that's what we spoke about yesterday. If you don't have this reasoning in the world of halakha, so what do you have? What are you walking away from Elul with? What does Shulchan Aruch mean to you?
It's like that story I shared with you a few years ago about the guy who impoverished his family and they starved over the etrog.
Oh, correct. This is a famous Hasidic
and
story.
He was fighting with the Yetzer Hara whether he should let his family starve or buy a beautiful etrog for the holiday. As if that was...
We were once sitting in shul, there was a man in our shul from Russia, and he said that he used to go to the mikveh in the mornings. He used to break the ice and go into the water. And I was like, wow, that's so impressive, such a, Mesirut Nefesh.
For the Russians.
Did you say vidui? Did you ask Hashem forgiveness for putting your life in danger? He said, who asked you to go to the mikveh in the middle of the snow? So it's a dangerous thing. So if someone would have to pull out your body...
You get pneumonia from it.
He said, do you think we'd come to your funeral? I said, we wouldn't come. He said, what kind of... And so what some people have been trained to think, oh, look, this man, he gave up all of his family's money to buy an etrog. You're making a hero out of the wrong person. It's not the normal way to live a halachic lifestyle. And the fact that there's so few people speaking like this today terrifies me.
Right.
It's like how lonely I can tell you we feel in this world of they'll throw Shulchan Aruch said this. You don't know what you're talking about. You forgot the whole art that goes into halakha, the whole approach that goes to halakha, the philosophy of halakha. When we learn halachot, we must be very careful not to get bogged down by exactly what the word says, but to understand who is Maran, what is he trying to get us to. And it's not a place of fanaticism and
It's almost, I hate
obsessive
to
compulsive
use the
disorders.
word, but it's almost a jihadist attitude of like making war on your natural instincts.
But that's
by
what we're
taking
taught. We're
extreme.
taught that our natural instincts are bad, are evil.
Right.
This is an old fight between the Jews and the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is always the people are born bad, and the Judaism says people are not born evil; they become evil. And this whole attitude of your innate self is evil, break it. It's not a Jewish approach. It's not the approach of Torah. It's not the approach of mitzvot. And if there are people that are great rabbis that this was the line that they towed, it so what? It doesn't take away from us that we have our tzaddikim are greater. The Rambam, nobody's going to replace him for us. Shulchan Aruch, nobody's going to replace him for us. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, someone could be holier than Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. This is the attitude we must have in the month of Elul. So we're on page 391. And when you read this halakha, you're going to find the conflict of exactly what I said to you today. Dan brought up this halakha a few months back, and I told him we were going to get to it, so now we're getting to it. On page 391, Rav Soloveitchik wrote a book called The Halachic Man. I recommend reading it. I recommend it. It's a recommended read. In The Halachic Man, Rav Soloveitchik says there are two kinds of people. There's the religious man, and there's the halachic man. And they are not the same person. The religious man in Rav Soloveitchik's world is a laughing stock almost. He's the one who's so head over heels with his Judaism that he ends up doing all kinds of things incorrectly. Whereas the halachic man is the one who comes off as cold and rigid and too calculated, but he's the one who's living the life of halakha. In this story, you're going to find that you're going to be taking the side, at least initially, of the religious man and not the halachic man.
It's like that video you posted of the rabbi in Israel about Uman. That would be more like a religious thing rather than a halachic thing of celebrating with your family in Eretz Yisrael.
The fact that there are people who leave their family and they think it's a normal thing to do in Rosh Hashanah, forget the Uman. There are people who go to their rabbis, they go to their family. You leave your family behind. It's not a Jewish thing in any imagination. And I've heard the Chazid that we always went to our rabbis. I understand you always went to your rabbis, but I'm not your Chazid. People in our community are not from. Your Rosh Hashanah is a time to sit with your family, to make the brachot on the new year, to have a meal, to take on new projects, new initiatives for the year. What are you doing running around Ukraine in Rosh Hashanah? You want to do that, do it on your own time. Rosh Hashanah is time to be with your family. The high holidays in general is a family time. Yom Kippur is not a family time. Yom Kippur is not a family time. If you open up the Ashkenazi Machzor, you'll find there are beautiful prayers to bless your children on the eve of Yom Kippur. So where are they? If they're in Russia, you're in Russia, what are you going to do with your children? How are you going to give them a bracha over the telephone? It's
FaceTime.
Original Judaism was not like this, and you don't have to be embarrassed. You don't have to be embarrassed to follow original Judaism. You don't have to be afraid to call people who look very religious imposters and counterfeit Jews. So you're part of a movement. Wonderful. Good for you. It brings you close to Hashem. Good for you. It's only 300 years old. Don't be so proud of yourself. Our Judaism is 5,000 years old, and yours is 300 years old. I choose mine any day. Don't be so afraid. Stop. Don't let the look make you intimidated. Siman Chaf Alef. We're in chapter 21. Kedat ma la'asot b'tzitziot shnifsaku. What do you do with tzitziot that have been torn? Ripped tzitziot. Uvetalitot yishanim, and an old talitot. What do you do with an old talit? You finish using your talit. It got worn out. What do you do with it? You're getting up from your chair in Shabbat and psst, a string rips off. What do you do with that string? Notice the word here from multiple talitot. There's a talit and there are talitot. There's a word that goes around called talesin. I don't care if you say s or not. I don't really care. It'll be talitos or talisos. I don't know how you would say it, but there's no im, there's no mem at the end of this word. The plural of talit is talitot. Like the plural of Shabbat, Shabbatot. Not Shabbasim or Shabbatim or whatever people want to say. Yeah, the plural, all kinds of words that people the plural of merits is zichut, is zichuyot, not zichutim or zchusim or whatever word somebody wants. I don't care if you say asaf or not asaf, but the grammar should be correct. It almost sounds. I know people. Okay, I have a whole list that I have in my phone of all the words people say incorrect. I'll tell you, this is something you should know because unfortunately this bracha we say a lot. It says kol hashoneh. It's forbidden for a person Lishanot mimatbea shetav'u chachamim. To change the text that the chachamim created in the blessings. So if our rabbi said the blessing is shakol niyah b'dvaro, you can't say shakol niyah b'dvaro. You can't you don't change things around. What they said is what we get. Nobody can improve a text that is found in the writings of our rabbis.
So what about when someone's leading the tefillah, they go like Shamayayayayayim?
I don't know what are they trying to accomplish by that.
It's like, they're like singing it out. I've been to places.
Correct.
Like that.
You'll find that there are some poskim. This is especially common in Ashkenazi communities. Not the chazanim, the poskim. The poskim who they call it the plague of the chazanim. I see many Ashkenazi poskim refer to it as that. People who are ignorant of Hebrew grammar, they're ignorant of Jewish law, but they have nice voices. So they lead services. I think I just saw Rav Henkin, Alav Shalom, call it the plague of the chazanim. He refers to this as like an illness, that there's nothing he can do about it.
It's the 11th plague?
I don't know what a plague it is, but he counts it up there among one of them. And you have, so what was I telling you? So someone passes away, and I see people often say, Baruch Dayan Emes. Yeah, that's Baruch Dayan Emet, or BDE, they'll write. The bracha is Baruch Dayan HaEmet, with a ha. Must have a ha. If you don't have a ha, you're saying a blessing that's not the way Chachamim. But we should never have to make this blessing. But this blessing is one that we make, unfortunately, in situations where it has to be said, at least it should be done correctly. When a person says things that are incorrect, it makes them feel ignorant, and I would love for Jews to not be so ignorant. There's Dalet Tzifim, there are 4 halachot in here. So Maran has 4 things to say about old talitot or tzitziot and the ribs. So Aleph, Chutei HaTzitziot Shenifseku. Strings of the tzitzit that have been ripped. Why is it called nifsak? What is the root of that word? Oh,
Pasuk.
okay, so psik is like a period in Hebrew. A pasuk is not a verse as much as it is this is the cut out of the paragraph, is this pasuk. When you have in Shabbat and Halakha, psik reshe, cut off the head, psik, to cut off, means to end, to stop something. There are many words that have this root. So, nifseku, when you tell someone tafsik, stop, right? That's what in Hebrew, you would say tafsik. So here, shenifseku, they're tzitziot that were ripped. Yechol, it's permitted lizorkan ashpa, to throw them in the garbage. You can take the string from tzitziot and just toss it in the trash. Mipnei shehi mitzvah she'en begufa kedusha, because it's a mitzvah that does not have any innate holiness in the object. What did I just say? You tell me tzitziot are not holy?
Like a cloth, like a Torah scroll. You think a Torah scroll, you can't throw it away.
Correct. Well, what's the difference in a Torah scroll and tzitziot?
It's only part of it, it's not the whole thing.
Well, Torah scroll has Hashem's name, it has letters, it has that.
Even if a panel, you said even if a panel gets messed up, you have to
You'd
fix
have
the
to
panel.
bury it and then bury it. Correct. That maybe I wasn't correct and accurate in my language there. That you'd have to bury. But so that's a good point. There's a difference between a Torah and tzitzit. The Mishnah says the following. If you look down in the footnotes, in Aleph, you see Shaar Tzion, the Rashi script, bottom left paragraph where it says Stiman Chaf Alef in bold. Braita Megillah, there's a Braita. Braita is a Mishnah that was not compiled in the Rebbe dynasty, so it wasn't included in the original Mishnayot, but it's quoted in the Talmud. Tanu Rabbanan, our rabbis taught, Tashmishei Mitzvah Nizlakin. Objects that are used to fulfill a mitzvah, you can throw them away. That's called a tashmish mitzvah. Something that was used, shimush, was used for a mitzvah. Tashmishei kedusha, things that were used, objects that have innate holiness. Nignazin, they are buried. Gniza, that's the root of that word. Gniza,
Innate holiness.
some Ashkenazim would call it shemus. This is where you bury things that are kedusha. Ve'elu hen tashmishei mitzvah. What are tashmishei mitzvah? What are things that are used for a mitzvah? but are not actually mitzvah themselves, sukkah, lulav, shofar, and tzitzit. These are the kind of things that you use in order to fulfill a mitzvah, but they themselves are not innately holy. וכן פסקו הרמב"ם והטור והשולחן ערוך. The Rambam, the Tur, and the Shulchan Aruch all rule this lahalacha.
There's also, with some of them, a time aspect.
Meaning a sukkah on Sukkot.
Right.
Interesting.
Or an etrog
On Sukkot. Okay, I could hear that. There are some people that would like to say that when you throw away your schach, you should throw it away not in the trash, but maybe in the green compost bin or...
Well, most Hasidic communities keep, like we do it also.
By
Keep-
Lulavim.
Yeah,
And
and
they
then
burn
you put it on top.
We don't put it on top of
No,
the
what- not here we don't.
Yeah, you should know. In any place that you go where they put on top of their own kodesh, you should go have a fight with the rabbi. It's forbidden. How can you put anything on top of Sefer Torah?
Well, what's the origin of the custom?
Oh, the origin of the custom, very good, is that there is a commentary that says you take the love and afterwards you throw it on top of the cabinet. Avon. It doesn't say Avon Kodesh, the ark. In a shul you have the bookcases, you have on top of the refrigerator. You store it somewhere that you could burn it on Pesach. But to throw it on top of the Sefer Torah, no, that's an unthinkable thing.
Well, there must be something more to it than just throwing it top. I mean,
You don't want
why
to
do they
keep
put
it on the floor so it doesn't get destroyed and stepped on and trampled on, and you're not going to put it on top of the Sefer Torah because that's obviously prohibited. So there's somewhere else. You put it somewhere high. That was all that the custom was, to put it somewhere high.
Doesn't get eaten by bugs.
You know, I bet there's another reason.
What would you feel comfortable? Anything? Would you feel
I
comfortable?
don't know, but I mean.
Would you feel comfortable with me taking these chairs and stacking them on top of them, Kodesh? You wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Well, you don't use chairs in the.
I pray in the chair more than I pray with my lulav.
Yeah, but
The
you don't
lulav is basically
use
you
your
finish
chair to
using
pray,
the lulav
you
too. You're
pray
ready to
on
burn
your
it
chair.
on Pesach.
And I
right?
make a blessing on the lulav.
You don't make a blessing on the chair, do you?
Correct. I
Is
say,
that-
how many times a day did I say Asher
could be-
Yoshve Vetecha? How praiseworthy are those who sit on the chair? So this is the.
Well, maybe it's a part of custom to make a prayer over a chair.
No, this is not, I don't. There's not an Ashkenazi or Sephardic thing. This is if you see someone doing this, you should tell them it's incorrect. I'm sorry, we
Well,
cannot.
to pile stuff on top that's all raggedy and it no longer has an aspect of kedusha to it is disrespectful to the
One
Torah.
of the poskim brings us down that it was actually causing major problems. You throw all these plants on top of their own kodesh, and mice used to come and eat the Sifrei Torah. This was a bad idea. Bugs would come to the things and they would eat the Sifrei Torah. This is not a.
Or it starts to stick.
I don't have to be a rocket scientist. That's not a good idea to throw things on top of the
Well, how long is it kept up there?
So
6
till
months
Pesach.
at least till Pesach.
Okay.
It's a long time.
Okay, so if you don't put it up there and you throw it away, it's immediately gone, right? I mean, is the idea is you put it up on top and you keep it.
I keep mine in my house in the closet. I used to have a big when I had more room. I used to have a big vase and people would just leave theirs next to their own kodesh.
Yeah.
There must be a better way to do it. Shuls, especially big shuls, they have all kinds of places that can keep a lulavim until Pesach. So this is the source. The source is from the Gemara that tzitzit are not a mitzvah themselves, just teshmishei kedusha. This would be the difference, for example, between your tefillin bag and your tefillin. Your tefillin are teshmishei kedusha; they have holiness, but the bag itself is only a teshmish mitzvah. Therefore, there are different halachot between the bag and the tefillin themselves.
With the tefillin straps themselves, if like a piece of leather comes off, it doesn't have to be put in the Gediza.
But we're going to see the laws of tefillin eventually. Aval, but says Maran, back on top of the page. Kol zman shehem kvuim betalit. So long as they're actually attached to the talit, the strings, asur lishtamesh behem. You can't use them for anything. What would you use the strings on the talit while they're attached to the talit for?
Clothesline.
Yeah, that's okay. That's clear. You'd clip one side here and one side there. Look, I have string. Or kagon likshor behem shum davar v'chotzav. Maybe you want to tie your keys to them or something. Why don't you tell it to tie something to them?
What about the kids who tie people's talets
the
together when they're
chairs.
dancing and stuff?
Yeah, it's a
Oh,
big
okay.
problem. This is not a correct thing.
I've seen people trip and
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's like the oldest trick that kids played ever in the shul, tying people's chairs, the talit to the chairs. But it comes from a lack of respect for the Beit Knesset. Mishum bezuyei mitzvah. The reason you can't do this is because you're degrading the mitzvah. The one thing is to throw them away. The other thing is to use them while they're still attached to the talit for all kinds of unfit purposes. Haga, steps in the Rama. V'yesh omrim, and some say, da'af la'achar shnifsaku, even after they were cut off, en linhog behem minhag bizayon, you should not treat them with disrespect. Lizorkan b'makom migunet, to throw them in a place that is unfitting, in a dirty place. Ela she'enan tzrichon gniza, rather they don't need gniza. They don't need to be buried, but they also shouldn't be thrown in the trash. So he disagrees with Maran here. V'yesh medakdekim legunzan. There are even some who are particular to actually bury them. Some are. V'amachmir u'medakdek b'mitzvot tavo alav bracha. And somebody who's strict and is particular about mitzvot should receive a blessing.
Well, then, if you bury them, then they must possess some sanctity.
Correct. They were saying that they don't agree that talit is that unimportant. That tzitzit is that unimportant. And they were particular to bury them. What do you guys feel about these halachot? Maran or Rama? What does Maran say? Maran says you can take the talit, just throw it away. Rama?
The talit or the string?
Strings. The strings. I want to see by the talit.
I think it makes sense not to treat it with total disregard because it is part of the talit or the talit katan or whatever.
Not anymore.
Well, it's just...
It's a string now.
I mean, it's a...
I mean, that's my, of one point of view. I'm not saying the other isn't
Yeah.
also.
Look at page 394.
I'm not trying to
We'll read the
disrespect
next
your
Maran.
point of view if it's different.
We're not skipping, we're just reading the next month. Bet, halakha bet.
Is it 393?
394.
Or 94?
Talitot shel mitzvah. Talitot of mitzvah. What other talitot do you possibly have?
What? A puzzle, one that you can use for other purposes.
Okay, Marlene, he's trying to move over. It's okay. Talitot shel mitzvah, meaning a talit is the generic Hebrew word for clothing. So he's trying to tell you not clothing. He's not talking here about clothing. He wants to make sure you understand he's talking about talit that you used to pray with. Talitot shel mitzvah shebalu, that have worn out. Adam bodel atzmo mehem. A person, I think, separates himself from them. That's the proper Hebrew here. Ve'no rotzeh lekanech atzmo mehem, and he doesn't wish to wipe himself with them.
Well, they don't quite do it that
How
way.
they
Oh, it
translate
says
it?
degrading use.
He doesn't want to use it for some kind of degrading use, like using it as my towel now. Yeah. Or going to the beach and laying down in my talit because it's not kosher anymore. You don't want to put them aside for any not kosher purposes. And then zolkan v'hen kalim, you throw them away and they on their own become destroyed. Is it any different than what he said in the first halakha?
Kids wrote,
At the end of the day, what are you doing with them?
Very trash.
You're throwing them away. That's the end of the day, you're throwing them away.
So in the old days, they didn't have garbage cans and trash cans. You put your waste in a place where it would just decay and go back to a natural form. That's something to consider.
Okay, correct. But you'd throw your cucumbers and tomatoes in there too, and your
That's true.
chicken bones and all kinds of other ugly things that after a while.
Yeah.
Some want to say that Maran in this halakha is treating the clothing of the talit with more respect than the strings in the previous halakha.
Yeah.
Some want to say that's what it sounds like. Even according to those opinions, if you know how to read Maran properly, he didn't say you should do this. He just says this person, ain't no one say he doesn't want to use it. For meaning he's referring to a person. It's not a bad stringency if a person says I want to treat these with more respect than I have to treat them. But the first halakha is the halakha, and the second one is the stringency of a person not wanting to destroy them with his own hands.
Could you say, again, I'm just speculating, that the talit itself, even if it becomes no longer kasher, represents more the idea of the original talit than a string that broke off of it?
There is a posek that wants to say what you're saying. He's actually quoted here at the bottom of the page. He's quoted on on 392 in the right column as Rabbi David Seriro from Saloniki. He says the talit clothing is more holy than the strings. There's something bigger about the talit than the string. The Chida says not, you can say that. The Chida says, with the talit clothing without the strings is not kosher. The strings are called tzitziot. This is just the clothing.
But in the mind of the person who sees it, they will imagine the talit as being
Greater than the string.
or a holy item, whereas when you see a string, you're not
Correct, and
necessarily going
this
to
is
see.
probably where the person in this halakha is coming from. You also see here something else that you didn't see before. And that is, you throw them away, and they will on their own destroy themselves. You know, on Shabbat, you can't turn on a light. You also can't turn on a light with your elbows, like some people think you can do. The question is, what happens if you don't directly turn on a light? You indirectly turn on a light. What does
Like
that
with
mean?
a timer.
You're playing basketball, and you threw it in the basketball hoop, and it bounced off and hit the light switch, turned the lights on.
But you weren't intending to turn on the light.
Okay, so imagine here you may have been attending, but you didn't directly go and touch the light.
Oh.
You have to be a pretty good shot to do that.
According to halakha, this is called grama. You didn't directly cause this action. You indirectly caused this action. You ever saw those, like in science class, they have those, what are they called, the Rube Goldbergs?
Yeah.
It was like 101 things happened till the light switch was turned on.
A mousetrap game.
Very good. So according to halakha, the question is that allowed on Shabbat? I'm not. I did set the initial cause that eventually ended up turning on the light, but I didn't do it.
So that's the difference between cause and intention.
Correct.
So the question is, I don't
Which
know
is
the
more
Luster Shabbat
important?
well enough to.
So you should know that there's all these things you see that people can use in Shabbat, like the Shabbat metal detectors at the Kotel, and the Shabbat microphone they use in Manhattan, and the Shabbat
Carts that go
perhaps
on
that
and
light
off.
switch they tried to push on Shabbat, that that electric
Cart,
like
just
wheelchair
like,
that
yeah.
you could a person could drive. All those things are made on this assumption. It's called grama. They're going to turn on the car, but it won't directly turn on the car. Some other things will happen until the car gets turned on. There are such jeeps like that in the Israeli army that they're not used for actual life-saving purposes, but they're used to check the perimeter fences or things like that. And they'll have these special switches that will indirectly turn on the car. According to halakha, it seems like, and if you try to explain this concept to somebody not Jewish, like God doesn't let us turn on the car, but if we do it indirectly, He lets us turn on the car. They might think we're crazy. You have to understand. This is not. I'm not purporting to say this is normal.
Could you do it with software? Then is the question. Also.
Very good. And this is why electronics, as they have developed, have actually created better situations for Shabbat than worse situations, like most people think. In fact, I chose the example of a light bulb. Not all poskim agree that the lights that we use today are actually prohibited on Shabbat. We're going on a very big assumption that electricity is prohibited.
Like if you have like a device like the Amazon device or Siri and something's on and you walk in your house, Siri, turn off the lights, or Siri, the lights are on, and they turn off.
Why do you go so far? You ever walk with those clowns who walk around the lights in people's driveways?
Yeah.
I call them clowns on purpose. Because what does it mean? You're walking by somebody's house. Did you want that light to go on?
Well, you don't know the light's there.
Yeah,
right?
you don't
That's
know
even
if the
better.
sensor
Okay.
to it,
Let's
yeah.
say you know the light's there. You know your next door neighbor has a light.
Well, that's intention.
Wasn't it? You don't. Did you want
You
to
just
turn
want
that
to
light
take a
on?
walk.
You're walking down the street.
You can't walk on the
You're
street.
yeah.
you
So
have to be on the
yes, you are
sidewalk.
doing something that
you are
inevitably
allowed.
will cause
Yes,
Shabbat desecration.
but
Correct.
It happens, but it isn't intention.
Now we're assuming already that the light is prohibited from, according to the Torah, not rabbinically. We're going to assume that's a big assumption. We're going to assume this, and the majority of poskim do agree that electricity is prohibited on Shabbat biblically, but the reasoning is very weak. You know, if somebody would sit down and revisit these tshuvot, you might have a different conclusion today. But I can't. I'm not big enough in that league to change this halakha. But you add into this the fact that did you go turn on the light switch?
No.
No, you walked by a house. There was a sensor that picked you up and that turned on the light switch. This is not even what Chazal would say. It's not an isur bayadayim. You didn't do something prohibited with your hands. It happened to be that you walking into this room, turning on an electronic sensor. The electronic sensor is not nearly as bad as intentionally turning on a light switch.
Is it
And
the
therefore
same
there's-
if, let's say, you're staying at a hotel, and the
Yeah.
only way to get into the hotel is the automatic doors? Do you have to
Some-
wait for someone
some-
else to trip it?
Rav Peretz's leaning is, like, I don't have a public psak from him to put on camera, but his leaning is that electronic sensors are not nearly the same as doing something with your own hands.
So that also includes
Flushing the
cards for the
toilets and the
bulk
sinks
toilets.
with the...
But But what
automatic
about
timers.
what about the cards? All the hotel rooms now have electronic
So
cards.
with a card, you're using your hands. You're doing something.
So you have to get some.
Here, you're just walking into the room and the lights turn on. Someone
Right.
once asked me that there were people who lived in the Costa Verde Towers, and over there they had an interesting dilemma. They lived on like the 30th floor, and the question was: is it better to ask somebody to press the button in the elevator for you, or to use the stairs? Obviously, it's better to use the stairs. The problem there was the stairs are always dark, unless you walk into the staircase, and at every step you take, the next part of the staircase lights up for you. So if you're walking up 30 foot, you're actually triggering some 6D lights to get upstairs.
It's like the new grocery stores when you walk down, it's all dark and you walk down the hall.
And the lights
all
turn on.
lights
Very, very good. So this is
And
the
the popsicles and then on the.
meaning
frozen
which is
pizza
worse?
and-
Which prohibition is worse? This is a good question. And the rabbi is refusing to meddle to get their hands dirty with the halachic issues of electricity in the 21st century are doing the Jewish people a very big disservice, because there are a lot of things that need to be updated and tweaked, and even if they want to be stricter, but they just have to give us a new set of guidelines. You're talking today about not fluorescent lights, you're talking about LED lights that don't even give off any kind of heat. You're talking about a number of realities that have changed, that are no longer things that are battery powered. They're not connected to electricity, so they don't complete circuits like you originally said that they completed circuits, and that was what made it prohibited. You're talking about maybe it's better for a doctor, he's allowed to write on Shabbat, but maybe it's better for him to type on his iPad than it is for him to write with a pen. That's real writing, and this is not real writing.
Right.
But who's going to be the rabbi to get up and give that psak? Somebody has to sit down and reanalyze his halachot, and until we do that, there will be a lot of, no pun intended, a lot of darkness on the matters of light on Shabbat. That's going to be a... We'll continue Shulchan Aruch on Monday.
Is
We're
there
not going to
anyone?
weigh in on the Shabbat, or the light bulb in the fridge issue.
So, what?
Well,
Are there any rabbis brave enough to do a forum on these things?
Sure, there have been a number of them. See,
So
the
far-
the matters of halakha are as follows. It's not enough to be right. And we learn this, unfortunately. It's not enough to be right as much as it's enough to have to convince the Jewish people that you're right. And sometimes it has to be the right rabbi who convinces the Jewish people. Meaning, if Rabbi Kanievsky and Rabbi Yashiv and I don't know, Chacham Ovadia, Alav Shalom, and Mordechai Eliyahu would sit down and they would be the ones to say such things, it could be that overnight the laws of electricity and Shabbat would change. But if it's not little, saying little in stature, but it's not as famous people who are going to decide these halachot, will end up creating a lot of strife and not enough change. And and you sometimes have to know this is left to people who have more not intelligence than I, not myself, I'm talking about a big rabbi, but more sway, more hold on the Jewish people, more grip on the Jewish people. And unfortunately we didn't manage to convince those rabbis to reanalyze the halachot. That's the truth.
You need the right case and the right rabbi.
Correct.